Hello, moms. I am super excited about this Facebook Live. So, for those of you who are new to this group, I am Brianna. I am an empowerment and transformational coach for teen girls and young women. And yeah, I'm feeling excited about this live. I love talking about this whole mind-body connection. And I think it's really important to talk about um, you know, what this has to do with if your daughter is suffering from anxiety or depression, how this all comes together, because the mind and body has a direct effect on what is playing out in your daughter's life, whether she has anxiety or depression or maybe something else that's going on. Like, this is really important. So I'm super excited to be doing this. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful day wherever you are, or night for some of you who are not in the States. But yeah, so the mind-body connection. So let's talk about this for a second. So how many of you have daughters that, and by the way, if you come on live, let me know you're here. And if you have any questions, whether you're watching the live or you're tuning into the replay, just please leave a comment below and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Or even if you just want to say hi, let me know that you're here. I would love to hear from as many of you as possible. So, okay. So how many of you have taken your daughter or daughters to a doctor because, your daughter is suffering from anxiety or depression, or both maybe? And, oftentimes the doctor is going to write a prescription, maybe for, Prozac or Lexapro, or whatever medication that the doctor thinks is going to help your daughter feel better, right? And how many of you go home and you're like, oh my God, like now my daughter has to get on some meds? And of course, with like every medication, there's always there could be some side effects. Or maybe it's just like, the knowing that your daughter is putting something, some sort of chemicals in her body. And, the whole thing with drugs, and I want to be really clear here, because I'm not advocating for get your daughter off of drugs or medication. Drugs sound weird. I'll use the term medication. You have to do what's right for your daughter. So I'm not advocating to get your daughter off the meds, but what I am here to talk about is a different route that you can take, a more healing, natural route to help your daughter with her anxiety or depression, instead of depending on medication to help her get there. And the reason that I think it's important that we just talk for a moment about medication and what that does for your daughter is because, if she is taking medication to help with her anxiety, to help her feel better, to help her get through her day, then she hasn't really learned the skills and tools how to do that on her own. And so what happens when she eventually tries to get off of that medication, right? So there's a high likelihood that she's going to become, hello, I'm trying to say your name right, Joaquin Yan. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, but hello, thanks for letting me know you're here. So back to what I was saying, so if your daughter is on some form of medication and then, she tries to get off of it eventually, what's going to happen? There's a high likelihood that she's going to become dependent on the drugs or the medication or whatever she's taking. So it's important that if you're looking for solutions, if you are looking for something else outside of mainstream conventional wisdom that says drugs and therapy is the way to go, and I'll talk about therapy in a second, there are other ways, okay? So I just want to be clear on that. And, as far as, I'll just touch on therapy, for a second. Therapy is not always effective. And so I'm going to be getting into this whole mind-body connection with anxiety and depression. Excuse me. And I'll give a couple examples why, if the therapist is not talking about these sorts of things with your daughter, then she's not going to get any better. And then what is therapy? But it's ineffective and it's a waste of time, money, and energy. And so if you're trying to find the right solutions for your daughter, you don't have time, you don't have the money to waste, and you don't have the energy. Like, you want a solution right now. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people go the medication route, right? Because it's like, we all want like a quick fix, like something to help your daughter feel better, right? And you don't want to wait months and months and months. You're like, I want this now. We've got to fix this now. Like, this is not getting better on its own. But this is why I'm doing this Facebook Live, because there are other things that your daughter can be doing right this second, like right now, to change the trajectory of her whole entire life. And it's really about her taking, really creating the reality that she wants for herself. So I really want to get into this. So the first thing I want to talk about, and if any of you have watched, I did a Facebook Live a few weeks ago, and that was about, I talked all about the subconscious and the conscious mind. And so I'm going to be bringing a little bit of that into this Facebook Live. So if you get a little confused when I talk about the subconscious and the conscious mind, go back into that Facebook Live. It was a ton of good information that I talked about what is going on in the mind with your daughter. So I'm going to close this window because there's some construction going on outside, and it's a little noisy and it's distracting. So hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so I want to first talk about a habit. And what is a habit? And you're like, why are we talking about a habit? I thought we were going to be talking about anxiety and depression. I have a reason behind all of this. So a habit is when you are doing something so many times that your body knows how to do it better than your mind. Okay? Does that make sense? So a habit is something. So let's take, for instance, your daughter. If your daughter has depression or she suffers from anxiety and she has been this way for a long time, not just maybe the last week, but maybe that this has been a pattern with her, right? So maybe she's been this way for months, years, right? What if this has been going on for 3, 4, 5 years? So when we look at what a habit is, if she has been showing up in this way, in this emotional state of stress and anxiety or depression and sadness, and she has been, showing up in that way for months or even years, then her body starts to get programmed to feel that way. And the body knows how to do it more than the mind. So does that make sense? Okay. So how you think, so let me go to your daughter because we're talking about your daughter. Although moms, this is also for you too. So not always, it's not always for your daughter, but this is also to empower you as well. Because when you are empowered, your daughter becomes empowered. And that's the whole intention, behind this whole Facebook group. So how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So how your daughter feels, right? And how she thinks and what she thinks every single day is creating her state of being. Okay? So let's take a look at this. What is going on when your daughter wakes up in the morning, right? Is she feeling, oh my God, it's another beautiful day. I'm so excited. Let's do this. Okay. Maybe not, maybe. I wake up sometimes and I'm like that. I'm like, oh, it's a beautiful day. But I start my day and I do a meditation and I practice my gratitude because I know that I want to set up my day feeling positive and feeling good, right? So, but most of your daughters, they're not doing that. So if they're not doing that and they wake up in the morning, and what is the first thought that they're thinking? Like, oh my God, another day. I hate my life. It sucks. I have to do X, Y, and Z. Ugh, I can't handle this anymore. So what happens with these thoughts, right? So the thoughts are coming through, and then maybe there's been some issues or problems or events that have happened in your daughter's life, whether it's been that week or like this past week. Maybe it's something that happened 2 months ago and your daughter can't even let it go. Okay. So whatever is going on. So I want to get back to this. Whatever your daughter is thinking and feeling, this is creating her natural state of being. Okay. So when she is thinking about her problems, or she is worrying, or she is going to worst case scenario, okay? So many girls do this and they're not even recognizing what they are doing. So how often is your daughter like stressing and worrying about her life and the things that have happened, right? How often is your daughter going to worst case scenario instead of best case scenario, right? I mean, like, the best thing to do is think on the positive and what could happen, like all of the positive things. But what happens when your daughter is living in worst case scenario and it's become a habit? Remember back to what I said about a habit? She's doing it day after day after day. This is establishing her natural state of being. So her body also learns this sort of behavior and how to feel. It's not just her mind. So this is what I'm talking about, this mind-body connection. The body is now taking on everything that your daughter is feeling and thinking. Does that make sense? Okay, so I want to talk about this. So a person like your daughter can say that she wants to be happy. But let me tell you this. That is 5% of her mind that is saying that. And I talked about this in the Facebook Live that I did a couple weeks ago. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. All about the subconscious and the conscious mind. I'll recap it in about 30 seconds. The conscious mind is 5% of your daughter's mind. 95% of your daughter's mind is subconscious. So when your daughter says, I want to feel happy, I want to stop this stress, and I want to feel great in my life. Guess what percentage of her wants that? 5%. That's it. 5% of your daughter wants to change, wants to get better, wants to relieve the anxiety and the depression. She wants to feel better. 5%, that is it. The other 95% is running off of old programs and old limiting beliefs, which is, I talked about this in the Facebook Live I did several weeks ago. So what does this all mean? This means that the body is on a whole different program than the mind. The body is like the subconscious mind. So if your daughter, so going back to what I just said, if your daughter says, you know what, I want to change. I'm sick of feeling anxious. I am sick of feeling depressed. I want to feel better. I want to feel happier. I want something new in my life. I'm done with this. 5% of her is saying that. So what is going to take over? What is going to win? I mean, like, how often have you heard maybe your daughter has been like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, you know, I'm going to get better. I want to feel better. I'm going to do this. And then nothing happens. And you're like, I don't understand. You just said you wanted to like get better, feel better. I don't understand what's happening. What's happening is your daughter's not in control, right? 5%, she thinks she is. She's really not. 95% of her is running the show. So the body is on a whole different program than what she is saying that she wants. And that's really important to understand, because if we want to shift and change what is going on with your daughter, it's important that we have the knowledge to really understand what's going on. Because if we don't understand this, how can we make change? How can your daughter get better if we don't understand what is going on a much deeper level? Okay, so I hope you're all with me so far. I'm like, you can tell I'm like so pumped up talking about this. This is like one of my favorite topics. So I get all riled up. So hopefully you like my energy here. Okay, so how does your daughter change? This is you might be like watching this and you're like, okay, that's great. How is my daughter going to change if 5% of her wants to change? I mean, is this a lost cause? I'm here to tell you, no, it's not a lost cause. Your daughter can change, but it is up to her. So how does your daughter change? So this is what needs to happen. She has to get beyond the analytical mind, okay? The analytical mind, this is what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind. So what does this look like? This is all about, I mean, one of the things, how you can get to that, get beyond the analytical mind, is through meditation. This is something that I work with, like the girls that I work with, and you know, some of the new programs that I have, I'll be talking about it later, but the group online coaching programs, we're going to be meditating. And that is so important, because we have to drop out of this. This can make your daughter crazy. This is going to give her, hi Nicola, thank you. This is going to make your daughter crazy, depressed, anxious, whatever is going on in here, and then the body follows. So what really needs to happen is to get beyond the analytical mind. One of the things that your daughter can do is meditate. I meditate. I don't want to say every day. I try to meditate every day, but I also know how important meditation is. So it not only it changes the brain waves of from your daughter, right? It also just slows and calms everything down. So if there's like so much going on in here, like with your daughter, right? Like all of her problems, all of her worries, like going to worst case scenario. I mean, like this is what her mind is like looking like, right? It's like, you know, think of like a washing machine, and it's like all of the clothes are like, you know, going like this. I mean, like this is kind of like what our minds can be like if we don't control it, right? Your daughter needs to learn how to control it, or the mind controls her. And that's not what I want for any of your daughters. So meditation is huge. Like I said, it changes the brainwaves, it calms her down. It also, I mean, I want to get into this in another Facebook Live, but like, you know, when developing a spiritual practice, and part of that is meditation, it also allows her to connect to herself, to connect to her soul, right? And that, I mean, it allows her to trust herself more. So that is like, that's everything for a teenage girl or young woman. So, and moms, if you're watching this, you know, also for yourself, I mean, if you're not meditating, maybe it's time to start. Practice it 5 minutes a day. That's easy. You all have 5 minutes. If you are making excuses why you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, ask yourself, why? Why are you making an excuse? Because the meditation, when we can come back to ourselves, it's everything. It's everything. So I want to get back to the topic of, you know, this whole mind-body connection and what this has to do with anxiety and depression. So I just talked about meditation. So I want to talk about, hopefully you can't hear the construction because there's some construction outside. I can hear it, but hopefully you can't hear it. So I want to talk about this thing called emotional reaction, okay? When your daughter has an emotional reaction, okay, she probably thinks that she cannot control it. Most people think if they have an emotional reaction to some event or something that happens in their lives, that they can't control it. That is a bunch of crap. And I'm gonna bust that myth, because it's not true. Your daughter can control her emotional reaction. So same with you, you can also control your emotional reaction just as much as I can. So I need to talk about how, well, let's talk about, first of all, I hope you all know, when I talk about emotional reaction, what is an emotional reaction? So I think you all know this, but basically, if something happens in your daughter's life, let's say her boyfriend breaks up with her, let's say she gets, a bad grade at school, or she's being bullied, or she's having drama going on with her friends, and it's causing a lot of stress and anxiety, okay? Her emotional reaction to that is going to be how she feels, her thoughts. What is she making all of this to mean? What is going on in here? That is her emotional reaction, okay? So I want to say something, because this is also very, very important. How long is your daughter's emotional reaction? Let's say something happened at school. Let's say that, she found out her friends were talking behind her back, or something like that, okay? That's an example. And your daughter comes home and she is just she doesn't know what to do. She's stressed, she's feeling anxious, maybe she's even getting a panic attack or something like that. How long is her emotional reaction going to last? This is the key to helping your daughter with her anxiety and depression, because if her emotional reaction lasts for 1 minute or 2 minutes, I am here to tell you that is amazing, because that means that your daughter can get beyond what she is experiencing and just basically move beyond it. But most teenage girls are not able to move beyond it that quickly. 1 to 2 minutes, they don't know how to do it. They haven't been given the tools and the skills to know how to shorten the emotional reaction that they are having from the circumstances and events that are causing upset, drama, anxiety, stress, maybe even depression. They don't know how to do that. So it's really important that they learn to shorten the emotional reaction that they are having. So I want to talk about this. So when an event happens in your daughter's life, people tend to think about it over and over and over again. I mean, moms, take yourselves for example. How often does something happen in your life, something that might be negative, something happened at home, at work, with the kids, and you can't stop thinking about it. You keep replaying it. It is going on and on and on, over and over again. It's like you're watching the same television show over and over and over again, and it just doesn't stop, okay? The same thing is happening with your daughters. If they're not able to shorten that emotional reaction, this is what is going on. It's like a replay, on your DVR when you watch something over and over and over again. It's what's going on in their minds. They're watching it over and over and over again, and they can't stop themselves. They might know this is not good for me. I'm not feeling good doing this, but they can't stop themselves. So what happens when they do this is that it's causing the stress hormones are kicking in, okay? So if you're thinking yeah, why can't I stop feeling why can't I stop replaying this event that just happened? Or maybe it happened a month ago and you're still replaying it, okay? And you're yeah, why can't I just stop? Let me tell you why you can't stop, or why your daughter can't stop. Because those stress hormones are kicking in and they're in survival mode, and they are saying, pay attention. We've got to be on guard. We've got to be on watch, because God forbid, if this ever happens again, we've got to be ready. This is literally what those stress hormones are saying. And so your body, your mind, it's like a lot is going on and you're like not even aware. So the body is like, pay attention. This is serious. It's in survival mode, okay? And so this is what is going on, and this is why it's so hard to shorten that emotional response and that reaction, because you're in survival mode, fight or flight. It's like you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, and you're like, your body doesn't know the difference that, oh, this is not as serious as running from a tiger, but the subconscious mind doesn't know that. Your conscious mind does. Conscious mind, 5%. Okay? So I hope you're still with me. I hope this is making sense. For those of you who are live, if you have any questions about what I've said so far, please, leave a comment below and I'll make sure to answer it. So this is also important. Most people are spending 70% of their lives in survival mode and stress. Okay? And they're anticipating worst case scenarios. Most people, I'm going to say that again, most people spend 70% of their lives in survival and stress. Okay? Because they are anticipating what's going to happen. Oh my God, remember running from the tiger? That's what it feels like. So the body has been conditioned into a state of fear. And this is why, like, if your daughter is suffering from anxiety or depression, her body is now feeling what is going on more so than her mind, right? She's like, if she's thinking about all of the events and things that are going on, and worst case scenario and worrying and stress and all of that, the body is also taking it on. That's why a girl who suffers from anxiety can have a panic attack without her even being aware of what's going on. When you ask your daughter, well, why did you have a panic attack? And she's like, I don't know why I had a panic attack. She doesn't know, because now the body has become like the subconscious programming. And now what's happening is the body is in control, right? Okay, I hope this is making sense. So so going back to what I just said, it's like the body has been conditioned into a state of fear. So here's something that is also very, very important that I want to really articulate. We don't know the difference, like our mind doesn't know the difference when we are thinking about an event. And if we are worrying about something that has happened in the past, or we are actually experiencing that event right now, the mind doesn't know the difference between an event that happened 10 days ago and an event that's happening right now. So going back to this whole, piece about stress and anxiety, if the mind and the body doesn't know the difference, whether it happened 10 days ago or if it's happening now, this is why the stress response is being prolonged and is lasting so long. And your daughter is not able to get out of the anxiety and stress and depression that she is feeling. Because if she is in the past and thinking about something that happened at school 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, months ago, years ago, they're living in the past of the stress and of the anxiety of everything that went along with whatever event that was. The mind doesn't know the difference, that she's not in it at this moment. It thinks it is. So this is why it is so difficult for girls. This is why it's so difficult if your daughter is suffering from anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression. This is the piece why it's so hard for her to change it. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I have a solution for all of this, but she hasn't been given the tools and the skills to change it. Okay? So if the body doesn't know the difference between something that has happened months or years ago and something that is happening now, then what does that tell us? So, it's basically the body is in the unknown when it doesn't know what is going to happen. So there's this whole cause and effect. I want to talk about this because this is also very important when we're talking about the mind-body connection and healing from anxiety and depression. Okay, so this old, how should I say it? This old paradigm of like reality where we're looking cause and effect. Like if if I'm really happy, then I'll get those friends, right? If I just lose those 10 pounds, then I'll get the boyfriend, right? Cause and effect. If I work really hard, then I'm gonna get X, Y, and Z. Cause and effect. So what I do with the girls that I work with is we change that, because that is an old limited paradigm, and that is not what is going to help your daughter feel better and relieve her anxiety or depression or stress or overwhelm. What your daughter needs to do is live in that. So if we're dismantling this whole cause and effect, she actually has to live in this state of, what is it going to feel like when she gets that thing that she wants, or when she's truly happy? Okay, so like if your daughter is anxious and she's been this way, or she's been depressed for year after year after year, that has become her natural state of being. Remember what I said at the beginning of this Facebook Live. It's all about a habit. So her body, her mind has been programmed to feel a certain way, to feel anxious, to feel depressed, to feel stressed and overwhelmed. How does she change it? So one of the things that I said earlier, like she has to get beyond the analytical mind, right? So she has to, like, the meditation is so important. But beyond just the meditation, your daughter needs to do much more than that. Your daughter needs to take herself outside of the anxiety. She needs to take herself outside of the depression, outside of the overwhelm, outside of the stress. And she needs to ask herself, what is on the other side of all of that? Okay? So what is on the other side of all of that? Is it happiness? Is it freedom? Is it peacefulness? Is it a love for her life? If that is on all of the other sides, so she's got this anxiety, depression, stress, overwhelm. She's got that right here. That's where she's been living for months, if not years. Over here, she's got everything that she wants for herself, right? Whatever it is, happiness, freedom, love, abundance of just everything, that is over here. If she wants what is over here, then she needs to start feeling, what is it going to feel like to have all of those things? This is what messes up so many girls, so many people. It's not just teen girls, young women, people, everyone, is that they believe that once I have this, then I will be happy. Once I get this job, then I will be happy. Once I make this kind of money in my life, then that is when I'm going to be successful and happy and fulfilled. That is wrong. That is a myth, and that is not the way to do things. So this is the kind of work that I do with the girls that I work with, is we've got to dismantle this old way of thinking and believing that if I do this, then I'm going to be happy. If I, if I do all, X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to have the life I want. It's not about doing, it's about feeling, okay? This is what is going to take your daughter outside of depression, stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. I guarantee it. How does she do this? She needs to feel her way into a new way of being. She needs to reinvent herself into somebody that's not stressed out, that's not anxious, that's not depressed. She needs to reinvent herself into someone that's happy, fulfilled, feeling great in her life, whatever it is that she wants. How does she do that? Well, it all comes from within. It's almost like she's got to envision, okay, like I'm closing my eyes as I do this, but maybe, moms, you as well, like close your eyes right now and envision what would it feel like to have your daughter come into her own? What would it feel like for your daughter to be completely and utterly happy and content in her life and confident and feeling like, she believes in herself? Feel that right now. Keep your eyes closed and feel into that. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Can you step into that? You can open your eyes now. This is the sort of work that I do with the girls that I work with, because oftentimes what's going on in therapy is ineffective because they're not going beyond the surface level of what is going on. And this mind-body connection is the key to relieving your daughter's stress, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, all of it, right? But if she's not going there with therapy and she's taking a drug or medication to help with all of this, but she's not doing the work. Hi, Katie, thank you. If she's not doing the work on herself, then this is what happens. She becomes disempowered and she becomes a victim, okay? So most people are constantly affirming their emotional states. What do I mean by emotional states? All day long, people are saying, someone will ask you like, oh, how are you doing? Oh my God, I'm feeling depressed. You ask your daughter, how is she feeling? I'm really tired today. You ask your daughter, like, how was school? It sucked. I hate it. I have no friends. I'm miserable. Your daughter, if she is doing that every single day, she is affirming exactly what she doesn't want. But because she's affirming it, she's going to attract everything that she's talking about. That is why I say, all of this positive thinking, like we talk about like being positive, right? Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. How many of you read The Secret, right? And it's like, envision the life that you want. Or maybe you've seen the movie The Secret. If you haven't watched it or read the book, I have it right here on my desk. But it's like we have to actually like envision what we want our life to look like and be like. And we have to stop talking about all of the negative stuff if we don't want to feel that anymore. If your daughter doesn't want to feel unhappy, depressed, sad, miserable, then she needs to stop talking about it. And also, moms, stop encouraging her to talk about it. If your daughter, day after day after day, is talking about how she's so sad, upset, hates her life, do not encourage that. Because what is that getting for her? She's getting something out of it. Otherwise, she wouldn't be doing it anymore. Is she getting attention? Perhaps. Is she getting some sort of like, we oftentimes become addicted to this is what happens. I want to go back to what I was saying before about, our emotions, right? This emotional state that I've been talking about. Our emotions from the experiences in our lives give our body and our brain a rush of energy, right? It is like a rush of energy. So if your daughter, let's say something happens at school and, and she's like, I don't know, I'm just going to say like, let's say she's been being bullied. And it actually, even though it's a negative experience, it's giving her, her body and her brain a rush of energy. And so this is how girls become addicted to those rush of emotions. If your daughter day after day after day is saying like, I hate my life. I'm so depressed. I want to change, but nothing's working. Oh, I've tried that once or twice. It didn't work. I don't want to do therapy. I don't want to do this. I don't want to see a life coach. Nothing's going to work. Okay. Not only is that excuse after excuse after excuse, it actually goes beyond just the making up of excuses. Your daughter is most likely, she's become addicted to those rush of emotions. The rush of emotions, oh my gosh, like this anxiety, she's getting a rush from it, right? If she wasn't getting a rush from it, it would be so easy to let it go and not do it anymore. It's an addiction. You can think of people that have, that are alcoholics or that, have become addicted to drugs or, whatever sort of addiction. What is addiction? You're addicted to that feeling that you get from it. So a lot of your daughters have become addicted to the rush of emotions. I hope that makes sense. So, I want to talk about change, okay? What does change look like for your daughter? Because a lot of, I talk to a lot of moms that are interested in whether it's private coaching or I'm going to be rolling out with group coaching next month, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But any sort of change is uncomfortable. And so oftentimes, your daughter might feel like, oh my God, like I want to change, which is only 5% of her mind that wants to change. But in order for her to make different choices in her life, she has to get uncomfortable. She has to get a little bit uncomfortable in the discomfort. Because when we make change, it doesn't always feel good, right? Human beings, we're all about, we want to know what's going to happen. The unknown is scary for most people. It's like, what's in the unknown? Like, oh my God, like what's going to happen, And it's like, it can be terrifying for some people. We don't know what's going to happen, right? Some girls might, getting out of their comfort zones. It's like, oh my God, like I know this really well because I lived in my comfort zone for so long, but it's like the unknown can feel really, really scary. And it's like, do I want to, put my toes in that water? It's a little scary. It's going to be different. Like what's going to happen? But it's almost like what doesn't happen if your daughter doesn't put her toes in the water? What happens if your daughter doesn't change her life? If your daughter doesn't make these changes for her life, then she gets more of what she is basically getting right now. Anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression, whatever it is that she is going through. And that is going to keep her addicted to that emotional state of being. She's going to keep getting those rush of emotions of the anxiety and the overwhelm and the depression, and nothing is going to change. And so moms, it's really important, I hope you've watched, this whole Facebook Live. And if you haven't, go watch the beginning if you missed the beginning or middle or whatever. But it's really important that to stop encouraging your daughter from affirming how she is feeling. It is one thing that if your daughter is going through something, it is one thing for her to feel her emotions, right? This is a big part of the work that I do with teen girls and young women. Like, we've got to feel what's going on in here. We don't want to suppress it. But here's the key differentiation. I can't say that, differentiation. How do you say that word? I'm going to say key difference. That's an easier word to say. Here's the big difference. But, between all of that, it's like, your daughter, she can stay where she's at, or she can make the changes that need to happen in her life. So if you're encouraging, if she's affirming that, oh my God, my life sucks. I don't want to feel this way anymore. Like, I am the victim. If that is her mentality, if that has become a habit, and remember what I said about habit, it's like she's done this so many times that her body and mind are now doing it over and over and over again, right? And so like, if she wants to change that, first of all, don't encourage her to keep doing that, right? I know, like, oftentimes, like, as moms, you want to like be there for your daughters, right? And you want to like rush to their aid, and you want to like help them get through whatever it is that they are going through, right? But at the same time, your daughter has to get out of this state eventually. So if you are constantly like, if she's talking about her problems and you are always there for her saying, tell me about it. So tell me, like, how are you feeling? And okay, so tell me, I mean, like, if these are the sort of conversations that you are having with your daughter, I'm here to tell you that that is actually hurting your daughter and not helping her. It's hurting your daughter and not helping her because she's become addicted to whatever she is getting, whether it's that rush of emotions from the anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression. It also could be her addiction for getting attention from you or her father or other people. Okay, here's the thing. When I talk about like addiction to the rush of emotions, or if she has an addiction to the attention that she is getting, it's not conscious. Okay, it's unconscious. So she doesn't actually know that this is the reason that she's doing it. She doesn't realize that she is staying stuck in her life because she is getting something out of it, right? Because if your daughter wasn't getting something out of it, she would easily change. If your daughter is not changing in her life, then that means that she is getting something out of it. Whether it's conscious and she's aware of it, or whether it's subconscious and she is not aware of it, but she is getting something out of it. So in order to change all of this for your daughter, she really has to understand your daughter is creating her own reality. She is not a victim. Okay, I'm just going to say that again because it felt really good when I said it. Your daughter is creating her own reality. It's moving her. If change is what you want for your daughter, she's got to move from here. I am the victim. All of this stuff is happening to me. Woe is me. My life sucks. I'm not ever going to do anything, get any better, go anywhere in my life. This sucks. That's victim. Totally disempowered state. Let's take a look at what is on the other side of that. So here's the victim. I'm going to keep it up. We got victim over here. This is maybe where your daughter has been living for year after year after year, but it's time to change that. What is over here? Over here is your daughter creating her own reality. Remember what I said about cause and effect. If your daughter is feeling, if something happens with your daughter, then she's going to feel a certain way. No, that is incorrect, and that is wrong, and that is an old limiting way that we have been programmed how to feel, right? If I just get this, then I'm going to be happy. If I just make this grade, then my life will be perfect. If I can just get this in my life, then that's when things are going to start to turn around for me. No way. That's not how it works. This is how it works. We're going to dismantle that whole cause and effect. And your daughter, let's start with the effect. What is it that your daughter wants to feel? She's got to get clear about that. If she's never asked herself, how do I want to feel? What is it going to take to make me feel better? How do I have to show up differently in order to feel happy in my life? What changes do I have to make? Do you think that your daughter is going to be a victim if she is asking herself those questions? If she's asking herself, what do I need to change about myself to be happy? How do I need to think and feel in order to be happy? What are the old beliefs that I need to let go of in order to be happy? If your daughter is asking herself these questions, her life transforms. Easy as that. here's the thing with all of this. It requires consistency. Oh my gosh, this is a really long Facebook Live. I knew that this was going to be long. I told you I'm so passionate about talking about this. It's probably one of my favorite topics, so I can go on and on, but we're wrapping up right now. For those of you who have been watching this for, almost the whole time, thank you for being here. If you're watching the replay, thank you as well. So, it's really about, what I was saying right now is consistency, okay? So if you've been watching this whole live and you're like, oh my God, this is really interesting, my daughter can create her own reality. How are we gonna do this? Like, I think this is amazing. Like, let's go, let's do this. Okay, so here's what needs to take place. It's gotta be consistent. When your daughter tries to change, this is what is going to happen. And this is why it's really important that she has a coach or she has like a support that is going to help her move forward. Because otherwise she's just going to go right back into being a victim, and we don't want that. If we want your daughter to create her own reality, then she has to let go of her old ways of being. So going back to consistency, okay? Consistency is key. Consistency is what is going to take for your daughter to go from a victim to the creator of her own reality. Hold on one second. I'm getting really hot. I need to open my window now. Okay. Whew, I'm getting hot in here. Okay. So anyways, if consistency is key, then what does your daughter need to be doing every single day? She needs to be focused on how she wants to feel, not what her old experiences have been telling her how to feel, right? If old experiences are anxiety, stress, overwhelm, and depression, and she wants to let that go and leave that in the past, right? Then she's got to create a new way of being. She's got to create new feelings, new beliefs, new thought pattern. She does this one time, it doesn't make a difference. She does this 2 times, it doesn't make a difference. She does it 3 times, it makes no difference. Your daughter needs to do it every single day, multiple times throughout the day. It's not a one-time deal and magically her life changes, okay? It's all about consistency. So the reason, if your daughter is on medication, if your daughter is seeing a therapist or a psychologist, or maybe she's doing, a bunch of that, and you're not seeing changes and you're not seeing results, the reason is because your daughter is she's not doing these things, okay? She needs a coach that is going to help her make these changes in her life. Hold her accountable to new thought patterns, new ways of being, new ways of showing up in the world that are going to empower her and make her believe in herself, trust herself, love herself, honor herself. She needs this, otherwise she's going to try to make changes in her life, and the body's going to be like, whoa, this feels uncomfortable. This feels weird. We're going into unknown territory. This doesn't feel good. Let's go back to the old way of being. Old way of being, guess where that gets her? Victim. Woe is me. My life sucks. This is what she gets over here. When she tries to make the changes on her own without the proper support, without the guidance, without a coach in her corner helping her every step of the way, she's going to try to make those changes on her own, and she's not going to be able to. You cannot get this transformation from a book. You cannot get this transformation from watching one Facebook Live. If you're watching this Facebook Live, if you're like resonating with what I am saying, this is information, but transformation is getting your daughter to do the work. She won't do the work unless she's working with someone to help her. Books aren't going to do it. If you're taking her to therapy and she's not changing, if she's been going to therapy for, let's say, longer than a few months and you are not seeing any results, it's ineffective and you're wasting your time, money, and energy. Why not put the time, money, and energy on something that actually works? Why not put the time, money, and energy on something that is going to get your daughter results that are going to last, not just right now, but for the trajectory of her entire life? Because that is what you want. It's not about, helping your daughter just right now where she's at in her teenage years, right? What about years from now? What about the rest of her life? What do you want for your daughter and for the rest of her life? Do you want her to be happy? Do you want her to be fulfilled? Do you want her to be anxious and miserable and allowing her mind to control her, and so she doesn't feel like she is creating her own reality? I mean, here's the deal with teen girls. Oftentimes, teen girls are not asking for help. You have to be the one that is saying to her, I think we've got to try something different. If your daughter resists, I will tell you the reason why she is resisting is because that means she has to let go of her old story of who she has become. The old story of her being anxious, depressed, sad, overwhelmed, stressed. If you propose to your daughter, like, I think this coach would be amazing, and if she says anything like, no, I'm not interested, that is because she is being programmed to feel a certain way because she's been doing it for so many years, and anything different is unknown and uncomfortable. We've got to shake that up, because now is the time. If your daughter is, I know like you have daughters, all ages. So if your daughter is a teenage girl, this is the time to do this kind of work, because the longer you wait and she doesn't get the results, the worse it gets. If she goes off to college, after college, she's going to have a hard time navigating her life, her circumstances, if she doesn't believe that she creates her own reality. If she thinks that she is a victim to everything that is going on around her, then there is no empowerment, none whatsoever. So the real truth, the real work starts with your daughter showing up for herself. The real work starts with your daughter saying to herself, you know what? It's time I start something new. It's time I change. It's time I become who I want to become, right? Old me is over there. Old me of being a victim and, the woe is me and my life sucks and I hate feeling this way. That can be in the past. The more your daughter identifies with that person, the more your daughter affirms her feelings of inadequacy, of not being not enough, not believing in herself, not loving herself. The more that she focuses on all of her problems and all of her obstacles and all of the things that she doesn't want in her life, the more she's telling the universe, yes, give it to me. This is what I want. If she focuses on all that negative crap, she's going to get, all that happens is she is an energetic being, right? That is her vibration that she's putting out there into the universe. She is going to actually physically get more of that. Whether you think that this is woo-woo about what I'm talking about, or you're actually like understanding what I'm talking about, the mind-body connection and what is happening in her mind and her body that is not helping her move forward in her life. This is when your daughter steps fully into her true power of who she is, why she is here, what she's here to do, who she's here to become. That is when your daughter shifts dramatically and everything changes. But it's up to you, moms, to actually want that for your daughter. Because if you watch this whole Facebook Live and this is resonating for your daughter, and if your daughter is not getting any better, then you know that change needs to be made. And like I said before, with your daughter, change can be uncomfortable. Change can bring up all sorts of things in all of us. It can bring up fear. It can bring up like hesitation. I don't know, am I making the right decision? Like this is why so many of us give excuses as to why we're not moving forward in our lives. because we are afraid of the unknown and it's uncomfortable. We don't know like what's out there, right? So same with you moms, like this is not just for your daughters. Are you coming from that space of like, well, I know like my daughter has been anxious and depressed or sad, or we've been dealing with this for so long. I mean, are you getting something out of enabling her behavior like that? I mean, I'm just going to be really honest with you. Like this might strike a chord with you. You might not like what I am saying, but I need to speak the truth because I need to I want to awake as many people as I possibly can. And the only way we do that is by telling the truth. So if you are enabling your daughter in any sort of way if she is experiencing like anxiety or depression, I mean, what are you doing about it? If she is affirming every day how she is feeling, I feel depressed, I feel horrible, I feel miserable, I'm tired, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. If you're giving her attention based on what she is saying, how she is showing up, if you're like, oh, you poor thing, like, I'm so sorry you're feeling that way, okay? That's not going to produce like results. That's not going to produce any sort of change. That is going to keep your daughter addicted to what she is doing because like I said before, but it's really important, so I have to say it again. There is an addiction element to what is going on with your daughter. Otherwise, she would have gotten better by now. End of story. There is an addiction piece with when your daughter is staying stuck, whether it's been for weeks, months, years. There is something going on a deeper level that is keeping her stuck. Sorry, my dog's barking. Annabelle, no. There is something that is keeping her stuck, okay? So it's really important. We got to be clear about that, okay? I'm not going to BS you on anything about what's going on because I feel like you, moms, deserve this truth so you can really start to help your daughter so that she can be empowered, so that she can start feeling good in her life. She deserves that. But she will never have that until she takes control over how she is feeling and knowing that she is creating her own reality. As long as your daughter is blaming other people, you, her dad, her siblings, something that happened 10 years ago in her life, as long as she is blaming those outside sources or those people from where she is in her life, that keeps her stuck exactly where she is. And that keeps her addicted to being stuck. There is an addiction element to being stuck. Otherwise, your daughter wouldn't be stuck anymore. So it's really important that we're clear about what is going on a deeper level with all of this. Otherwise, we don't know how to change it. Otherwise, you might feel like victims too because you're like, gosh, I don't understand. Like my daughter is not getting any better. We've done psychiatry, we've done therapy, we've done drugs, medication, like nothing. Okay? Everything that I've talked about in this training, or not, well, I guess it's kind of like a training. This is even longer than my webinar I have out. But I mean, like everything that I've talked about, this is what is required for your daughter to change her life. So again, remember I was going to like the victim and the creator of reality. If your daughter wants to be the creator of her own reality, but she is not willing to take all of these steps to get there, there are steps to get there. She can't just want it. A desire to change without actually taking the steps to get there is useless. Nothing changes at all whatsoever. If your daughter wants to become empowered, wants to become happy, and she's being a victim over here to her circumstances, then she needs to start doing the work. Remember what I said before? Consistency. Not a once or twice, not go get your daughter a book and she's going to read it and then that's going to change her life. No, she needs to work with a coach. She needs to work on herself, and she needs someone that's going to support her, guide her, motivate her, inspire her every step of the way. If she doesn't have that, she goes back to the old way of being addicted to the rush of emotions that she's feeling, the rush of emotions of the anxiety, stress, and depression. That's a lot of rush. That's a lot of energy going on. Even though it feels negative, even though it might, in our rational mind, this might not entirely make sense why your daughter would want to be addicted to those emotions. Because when we think about it in the rational mind, it doesn't really make sense, right? Like, why would she want to stay there? Why wouldn't she want to get better, right? It's because it's based on everything that I've talked about in this live. The rush of emotions, the addiction to being stuck, the addiction to being in that victim state, right? And then it also goes into the mind and body and how that's been conditioned over years, right? She's conditioned her, I mean, like, I won't go back into everything that I've said, but just to like recap it, the mind and body has been conditioned to show up in a certain way over and over again, consistently. I use that word consistently. It's very important. If your daughter has shown up consistently day after day with, dealing with these feelings and emotions of, being not enough and the anxiety and the panic attacks and the sadness and the depression, consistency. What did it take in order for her to be that way? Consistency, right? It became like a habit. We need to break that habit. We've got to shake this up. Otherwise, your daughter gets more of the same and she doesn't change. And she goes off to college and she's the exact same person that she is right now because nothing changes. In order to change it, she needs consistent work on herself. Okay? And so this is what I do. This is what this work is all about. So if you've watched this entire Facebook Live and this has struck a chord within you, if this is resonating, if you're like, yes, this is exactly what is going on with my daughter, don't just turn off this live and go back to living your normal life because nothing is going to change. Information, all of this is information, but the transformation part of it is your daughter working with me. Okay, so like I said, you get this in a book or you get it in a live, it's not going to produce the kind of results that you want for your daughter. So I'm going to leave my link below, and I'm encouraging like all of you, book a call with me if your daughter is ready to transform her life and you are sick and tired of dealing with everything that's been going on with your daughter, then now is the time. Change it. Be a little bit uncomfortable in the discomfort of booking a call with me. If that feels a little bit like, ooh, I don't know, I've kind of never done something like that. Do it anyway, right? If we're trying to teach your daughter to empower herself, if we're trying to teach your daughter to, rise above the discomfort of the way that she's been living, then we've got to do the same for you moms. You've got to do that as well. Set the example that you want for your daughter. So if this is resonating with you, I would love to speak with you. I'm going to leave my link below. It's going to take you to my calendar section. You can pick a day and a time that works for you. We'll get on a call. We'll talk about, what's been going on, and we can, see, can I help your daughter? If this resonates with you, book a call with me. And, the second piece is I want to talk with your daughter, because even if you want this for her, she has to want it for herself as well. So I want to just, before I jump off, oh my gosh, it's been over an hour. Before I jump off, I want to just, talk about, I am going to be rolling out a new program next month. and it is a group online coaching program. I am doing 2 different ones. I am doing one for young women ages 18 to 22, and I am doing another one for teen girls, teen girls. And so they're not going to be like huge because I want the groups to feel intimate. So whether you are thinking to yourself right now, you know what, no, I feel like my daughter really needs private coaching. Like, this is something that is going to be huge. I still offer privates, right? But I'm also offering this group experience where your daughter is not only going to be supported by me, but by other girls that are in the group that are supporting her, that are loving her, and we can share the breakthroughs and we can share what we're doing to really make the consistent action steps to really change our lives. There is, oh, hi, Carrie. There's something really magical that happens when a group of girls come together and we're like working on ourselves and we're really diving in to the depths of like where we need to go to feel better and to really, become empowered and loving our lives. Like, there is some energy, like the energy that goes into a group like this is phenomenal, and it's really amazing. And so I encourage you, like, I'll be next week, I'm going to have a very short webinar for teen girls and another one for young women. So, and you can share that with your daughter or daughters. And, if that's something of interest, then I'd love to have them be a part of this group. It's not, we have, I don't know how many members we have in this group. We have like, I think close to like 1,500 moms in this group. I mean, the young women one, I think I'm going to cap it at like maybe 20 young women in there. And then the teen girls, I might cap it at 15. So like, if this is something that you think would be really amazing for your daughter, definitely tune into more information that I'm going to be sharing with you next week as I roll out with the webinar that you can share with your daughter. And I'm super excited. It's going to be amazing. And of course, also the private coaching as well. So that was a very long Facebook Live, but I feel really good because this is what I'm passionate about. I'm really passionate about sharing this knowledge and this information with all of you, because it's not about me like holding it all in and just sharing it with the girls that I work with. I want to share it with all of you moms so we can really start to empower your daughters, so your daughters can get out of the anxiety and the depression, and they can really become empowered and start creating their own reality. That's what it's all about. That's what it's going to make. That's what it's going to take to make lasting change in your daughter's life. So if you'd like to book a call with me, I'd be super happy to talk with you. And I'm sending you all lots of love, hugs, and kisses. And if you have any questions about anything that we talked about, just leave a comment below, and I'll be sure to get back to you with an answer. And I'll see you guys all later. Bye.